Much more ahead on this show to get you ready. But first, we're following a developing story in college football. Ohio State head coach Ryan Day won't be out of isolation in time to coach the Buckeyes game on Saturday at Michigan State. Questions on if they can even play that game remain, as Ohio State had to cancel last weekend's game at Illinois due to COVID. They just returned to practice this afternoon. The Buckeyes, 4-0, were fourth in the CFP rankings a week ago. College football playoff reporter Heather Din is joining us now with much more. Heather, how do you expect the selection committee to view Ohio State with the Buckeyes now scheduled to play only 6 games?
Well, while it might not impact the rankings tonight, ultimately, how many games each team plays will be a factor in the selection committee meeting room. Fair or not, the more games you play, the more opportunities you have to impress that selection committee. If Ohio State doesn't play Michigan State, but it does play Michigan, it will not meet the benchmark to 6 games to play in the conference championship game. But they can still play that weekend. Everybody in the Big Ten is playing on Champions Weekend, December 18th, 19th. If they're matched up against a decent opponent and they finish 6-0, they can still be in the conversation, but they would be missing a tiebreaker, and that is a conference title. That's 1 point that's used in that committee meeting room to help determine between comparable teams. You
mentioned that decent opponent. Could be even Wisconsin, a team that we were talking in the conversation of meeting Ohio State before that they went down to Northwestern. Now, beyond the top 4, what else are you looking forward to learning from the committee tonight specifically?
Well, I think given where BYU started at number 14, I want to see if they can get up within at least 12 so they can be in a New Year's Six bowl position tonight. I'm curious to see if that happens, and how far does Northwestern sink after losing to Michigan State? Because look, Northwestern can still win the Big Ten, and Ohio State might get in anyway.
Go figure. All right, we'll see how this very fluid situation plays out. The rankings, they come out at 7 right here on ESPN. Heather, thank you.
Still to come on SportsCenter, tracking tonight's NFL headliners, featuring the Ravens and Steelers' final steps towards Wednesday afternoon's kickoff, and the Monday night fallout on the future of Carson Wentz and the Eagles. New comments ahead. Plus,
it's early in the season. Everybody breathe.
It is very early. But we get to enjoy college hoops, right?
Finally.
That's a great thing, and plenty ahead as we get you ready for the second release of the college football playoff rankings in less than an hour. But first...
Yeah, believe it or not, we're just 51 days since the end of the NBA Finals. Training camps officially open today with several storylines to keep an eye on. Let's start in the Big Apple. The Brooklyn Nets, who you may have heard, they have a new head coach by the name of Steve Nash, the former 2-time MVP, who has never coached at any level officially in the NBA, but he did hire his former coach in Phoenix, Mike D'Antoni, as one of his assistants. On Steve's roster, star point guard Kyrie Irving, who only played 20 games last year in his first season in Brooklyn, averaging over 27 points, 5 boards, 6 assists per game. Kyrie's last game, though, was back in February, but he's ready to go after shoulder surgery last season. And how about his running mate, Kevin Durant, who hasn't played since tearing his Achilles in Game 5 of the 2019 Finals with the Warriors. Exactly 540 days later, KD spoke today about recovering from that debilitating injury.
Yeah, it was definitely new. I never experienced that injury before. Not even strained, anything close to that. But learning how to walk again, not walking and getting assistance in everything that you do for the first 3 or 4 months was tough. I've been through surgeries and injuries before, but the longest recovery I had was 3 months. But the first phase of the Achilles was 3 months long, and you couldn't walk or run. You had to use a scooter. So I think those milestones of reaching, like learning how to walk, and learn how to run, jump again, and getting used to certain movements again. I think that's underestimated. People don't realize that.
You've already been asked about James Harden a little bit here, but I mean, the reports are pretty wide that you two talked while you were working out in LA, and apparently he expressed interest in wanting to join you. Do you relay that James wants to play with the Nets to Sean as soon as you hear something like that?
I don't know where you're making these stories up that me and James talk about any of this that'll work out. Like, I don't know where that came from. And James is a friend of mine, but I let the front office handle all of that stuff. I heard all the noise, and I heard that, James potentially wanted to come to the Nets, but anybody can make up stories. I never thought too much about it. Just focused on myself, and my teammates probably did the same thing, and, we just move forward.
Are you 100% right now, or are you limited at all in practice, or are you physically going 100%?
Oh, yeah. Every drill that I've done, I've been going as hard as I could. I mean, 100%. I mean, what it was. I mean, I've been in the league for 14 years. Even if I didn't have an Achilles, I probably wouldn't be 100%. You know, so you know, it's the wear and tear over time, I guess. But I feel solid.
NBA reporter Malika Andrews joins us now live on SportsCenter. Malika, you were around KD most of last season, and I know you were listening in on all of that today. There's a lot to cover, right? From the injury to apparently people making up stories, and then back to the injury recovery. What stood out the most to you?
Well, first of all, Sage, you know, we are standing by our reporting and what we reported on that initial interest between James Harden and the Brooklyn Nets. But today, what really stood out to me was how Kevin Durant didn't lean into, I am going to absolutely unequivocally be the MVP version of Kevin Durant. I'm going to temper expectations a little bit because he knows that this is an incredibly serious injury that he's coming back from. And he said that he isn't sure he's feeling good right now. You heard him just say he's going through drills as close to 100% as his body can provide. But in the same breath, he's saying he wants to see what it feels like to really be in a game before he's ready to declare that he's 100% back and this is exactly what he is going to look like. Yeah. He also talked about working out with Kyrie Irving, which was very interesting because they are building that chemistry in the offseason already.
Yeah, and that's a great segue to our next question here, Malika, because we did hear from Steve Nash today specifically about that KD-Kyrie relationship. And it's one to keep an eye on, obviously, so much potential, but two very unique, strong personalities. What does new head coach Steve Nash say about trying to get these two, you know, to be their best? And, of course, he has that history with KD in Golden State.
Absolutely. Well, Sage, first of all, what's most important that he said is he would be surprised to see both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving play in all 72 games this season. With Kevin in particular, he said that we may, to some degree, have to save him from himself a little bit here because he wants to play at the highest level. It's a serious injury that he's coming back from. He didn't say specifically how many games. There would be some form of load management there, but it would be surprising to him to see them out there for all 72 games. He also alluded to potentially seeing some glimpses of that 7 seconds or less Suns team that he played for and that D'Antoni coached, who's now on that staff.
Malika Andrews, you're going to have a blast for many reasons covering this team this season. We look forward to it. Preseason tips off in like a week. Malika, thank you. Kevin, over to you.
Sage, the second release.